My name is Jacqueline Ortiz, and today I will be presenting my Week 5 discussion board post, which would be Marbury v. Madison. Marbury v. Madison occurred in 1803. I will be explaining certain aspects like how the government was before this case and how the government is now. The government before this case had no judicial review, had no checks and balances system, and had no separation of powers. The government now does implement separation of power within the government, has 3 separate branches who all hold separate responsibilities and all have separate different types of powers, which is part of checks and balances. It is part of the checks and balances system. And there is separation between state and federal government as well, which is also part of separation of power. The government before this case had, like I said, no judicial review, which is now implemented into the government now. It also had lots of negative outcomes just because of the abuse of power there was in the government due to no separation of power. Significant aspects and impacts of this case. Certain significant aspects were that this case evolved our government into what it is today. It also introduced and established the principle of judicial review, which is something that we often see today. Impacts made by this case were, for one, it strengthened the system of checks and balances within the government, which implemented the separation of power within the government, which avoids one branch having solely all the power or too much power to the point that it becomes an issue for society overall. Another impact made by this case would be that the Supreme Court has the power to declare laws passed by Congress unconstitutional, which we often see that the Supreme Court is now considered part of the government as well. It is considered that the Supreme Court is now co-equal to the government when it wasn't before. Aspects that I would change to bring this decision into the 21st century would be that there would be to create a broader interpretation of what exactly judicial review is, just because it would bring more awareness to society and it would allow them to have more of a correct opinion and less misconceptions. Like I said, more transparency with the public would help the public understand and avoid the misconceptions there is now about the government. Including the public and asking civilians for their input would be great, just because we do have laws that are made that sometimes are not effectively what the public wants, which can lead to issues and dilemmas within society. Thank you all for listening and watching. I hope you all enjoyed my video. Thank you so much.